Ladies and gentlemen, we're here today with an esteemed guest, Mr. Herman Peanut Johnson himself. He is a drummer to the stars, music director extraordinaire, music producer, recording engineer, mixing, mastering, you name it, he's probably done it and he probably plays it. And that's no joke. We're excited to have him on the show today. This is Musically Hitched, and we're going to dive right in today. So, Peanut, I've known you for a long time. I'm going to call you Peanut. Government name is Herman Johnson, but the industry knows you as Peanut, right?
Right.
So
right.
Tell the listeners where you're from, what's your backstory, how did you get to where you are today? So let's take it all the way back, because we're both from Carolina. So let's go ahead and put that out there right away.
Want to go all the way back?
Let's go ahead and go all the way back.
Okay.
Let's go back to 85 and 40 East and 40 West. Let's talk about where they meet up. Tobacco Road. Let's do it.
Woo, yeah, man. Yeah, I'm from Butner, North Carolina. A lot of people don't know where Butner is, but if you've driven 85 north to get to Virginia, you've gone through 3 exits of Butner. You might even stop for gas. You might have even stopped at our Mickey D's or Burger King or something.
Mm-hmm.
But you stopped in Butner. But I'm from Butner, North Carolina. That's Granville County. That's Creedmoor area. It's close to Durham, not too far from there. Maybe 5-10 minutes or whatever. So majority of the time I tell people I'm from Durham if they don't know where Butner is.
Mm-hmm. Right. Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina.
Yeah, man. So that's the crib, that's the crib, man. Everything started right there, man. At CFC, Christian Faith Center, man, when I was a kid.
So you're a drummer. Most people that know you know that about you right away. Did you start on drums or did you gravitate to the drums? What was your first instrument?
Drums.
Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely drums. The crazy thing about that is I used to I used to play on my mom's like pots and pans and stuff. I think I was probably maybe like 3 or 4 or something like that. I have the picture somewhere. I gotta find it. And it cracks me up. But I started out on drums, man, because matter of fact, your brother-in-law was like the biggest influence, man. Kevin Morton was like the biggest influence of me picking up sticks.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about the game pickup sticks neither, like for real. He was like the biggest influence, man. It was two guys when I was coming up. It was Kevin Morton and it was Glenn Burgess. Mm-hmm. Those to me were the guys that as a kid I looked up to and was like, yo, I want to play like that one day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they both had 2 separate styles. You know what I'm saying? But they were, to me, like that's a part of my core, my foundation when it comes to just playing, period, just music, period. I wasn't interested in keys at all. Like that wasn't my thing. It was just too much. But drums, for some reason, it was just, I don't know, it moved me. And I'm gonna tell you, man. Now here's the thing. This was the difference for me, growing up, because it was actually at before Christian Faith Center was Christian Faith Center, it was First Baptist Church. Mm-hmm. And that's when I remember saying, wow, like I want to do this. Because here's the thing, the way Kevin played drums was so smooth and just, he was slick with it. Like he was doing stuff, but it was like his hands wasn't moving. It was like he had like mind control over the drums. It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kev was that guy, man. It was like, and I would just watch the way he would play. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, wow, how is he doing this? All this stuff. And it's just so smooth and effortless. But if you was just listening, it didn't sound like it was effortless. Mm-hmm. It was sounding like, oh, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it was like, I wanted to play like Kev, like, cause he had like the smoothness of everything. Glenn was more, I'm gonna say, rowdy when he played. You know what I'm saying? Like he had more, I guess you could say, he was more showy, like spinning sticks, and he was that guy. You know what? He was like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with marching band, but marching corps style versus show style.
Okay, break it down for me.
Okay, so corps style is more militant, more military style.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Where everything is really astute. Everything is, extremely calculated and this, that, and the other. Show style, show band style is, if anybody's ever seen the movie Drumline, all of that is show band style.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's like, for me, that was like, A&T Aggies or Central, North Carolina Central. It was like them. You know what I'm saying? It was just the, HBCUs. That's what it was.
Right.
You know what I mean? So Kev was more core style, and Glenn, and this is the way I saw it, Glenn was more show style. You know what I mean? But they both were like, to me, they were like equally dope. But I gravitated more towards Kev because of the type of control, he had. It was like, I want to be able to play like that. I want to be able to have that kind of control.
Right.
But at the same time, if I need to put a little more into it, I can. That's how I kind of looked at those guys. And I wanted to, I can't tell you how many times I used to just stand behind the drums, man, like during like service and everything like that, and just be like, just watching, just taking notes, just, waiting on my chance to just try stuff out. And at this time, I didn't even have a drum set at the home, at the crib.
How old were you when this was, when you were peeping over their shoulders at the drum kit? How old were you?
I was probably like 4 or 5, man. I was probably like 4 or 5, and I would come home. Like I said, I gotta find that picture, man. But I would come home and I would just be like envisioning, me playing what they're playing. In my mind, I felt like I was doing what they was doing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So they definitely was the spark, man. Or I guess you can say that. Or spark or match to light that fire to want to, play drums and stuff, man.
So this was around 4 or 5. So when did you actually start playing the kit? Let's say, okay, we graduated now until we got the passion, we got the mentors in place, or the inspiration. When do you remember first taking the kit on, let's say, if it was it church? Was that the first time you played the drums publicly in front of an audience?
Nah. Well, yeah, that was the first time I played in front of an audience. Yeah. Okay. But the first time I ever played was my dad. I think I was about 6 years old. My dad actually gave me my first drum lesson. And I remember waking up one morning for Christmas and everything. As kids, you get up a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
See if there's presents under the tree and all that good stuff. So, I snuck downstairs, man, and I didn't realize that he had set up an actual drum set, not no little kid drum set either. It was like an actual 5-piece kit.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God. And I remember going back upstairs and I was like, this can't be real. Because it was everything that I wanted. So when I went back downstairs, here's the thing. I did not know how to play drums. Like, I didn't know about the whole foot pedal situation and all that stuff.
Okay.
Like I saw them doing that, but it just didn't register. So when my dad got on the kit and, he was like, I'm gonna show you how to play it. Because he asked me if I knew how to play it, and I was like, yeah. And I was just on there just all that stuff.
Yeah.
My dad got on there and he said, he was like, I was like, my dad? And I ain't gonna lie, man, like I started tearing up. I couldn't believe it. I started crying.
Okay.
Because I was so happy, man. You know what I'm saying? So he gave me my first drum lesson, and all that stuff. And I just practice, man. And I think the first time I ever played in front of an audience, it was the youth choir. I can't remember how old I was, but it was the youth choir at CFC, and the way they had the drums set up and all that stuff, like he was obviously on a riser and all that stuff. It was crazy. But I do remember my heart being in my throat. I was scared as I don't know what, you know what I mean? And I just remember being like, yo, okay, now it's my turn to play in front of people, because prior to that, all I ever was doing was, just playing in my room, and just practicing and practicing. So the first time I ever played in front of people, man, was at church, man. I'm a church boy all day.
And your church was not a typical church, because a lot of musicians, secular, some of the most famous musicians in the world, male and female, we trace our musical heritage back to the church, right? But your experience was a little different. Talk to us about them and how they kind of set the tone for musical excellence in particular.
Well, I know Bishop Mack and Brenda Timberlake, it's so crazy. They were just musically driven. I mean, we had some of the most prominent gospel artists and secular too, come through our church, man, and he exposed us to a lot of that. Like a lot of the times, especially in our area, it wasn't like we were going to go to like gospel concerts and all this other stuff, He brought the concerts to the church.
Sacred and secular.
Man.
Really?
I will never forget when Mace came and actually preached. We were like, is that Mace? Like P. Diddy and Mace?
Was this at the height of his fame?
Yeah. This was when he literally turned from secular to gospel. He had like a stint.
Right.
He had like a stint where he went gospel.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And he was there, man. Like we've had so many other people come through, man. I mean, Fred, of course. I mean, we've had Fred like maybe 3 or 4 times, something like that. Kurt, Dawkins, Karen Clark, Shirley Caesar. I mean, it's been so many people to come through that I don't even know all of them. I mean,
that's a Hall of Fame list you just wrote off right there.
Right. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy because we were exposed to that.
Exactly.
We were exposed to that kind of like excellence. And it was like being able to meet the musicians who played for these artists. They were like, to me personally, they were like superheroes to me. Cause I'm like, dang, I want to be able to do this one day, man. And growing up, I wasn't able to listen to anything except for gospel.
Okay.
There was nothing secular in the crib. My parents wouldn't let me listen to anything secular at all. You know what I mean? Growing up.
So that's probably not strange for a lot of people that grew up in the South, the Bible Belt. That can be somewhat consistent.
Right. And that's real, man. You know what I mean? And I mean, he really just exposed us to a lot of things that I honestly don't think I would have been exposed to, because Butner, Creedmoor, that's a town. Those are small towns. You don't have a lot of. It's not like Raleigh or Durham. When people come to do shows, they go to like Raleigh or Durham or Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? Or Greensboro. They don't come to. They don't even know where Butner is.
Right.
They don't know where Creedmoor is. You know what I'm saying? But he was able to like bring these artists there, man, and like I guess show us that, hey, it's more out there than just Butner and Creedmoor. You know what I mean? And that instilled something in me early. You know what I mean? It definitely put something in me early that was like, man, this is crazy. Like, can my drumming, can my music take me like further than Butner and Creedmoor in the Granville County area, in the Durham County area, in the Vance County area? Is that really actually possible? But he made that mentally possible for me, he made that mentally possible. And it just, I'm not gonna lie, man, it just really, it fueled the passion that I already had.
Amazing. So you basically, the music industry in essence came to you because everybody has a different story in this business. Some people grow up in music centers, right? We both reside in Atlanta now, the musical cultural hotbed of the world at this point,
Yeah,
right?
melting pot.
Some people grow up in Los Angeles. New York City was hot when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Nashville is a couple hours away from us. So there are those major metropolis that we can all just roll off the tongue that are big, but like you said, no one knows where Butner is unless you've been before, unless you have a reason to. For you to have seen all those legendary artists and didn't have to leave Butner or Creedmoor is really, really outstanding.
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
Now I will say, when I mentioned where I'm from, Butner and everything like that, there people that do know where Butner is, they only know Butner because, oh yeah, y'all got that maximum prison over there, don't y'all?
Right.
I'm always like, oh God. Yeah. That's in our backyard. Yeah, that's there,
But you're a great example of what can happen, I believe, as a result of exposure. And particularly when you dream big. So you had the mentors we talked about, Kevin and Glenn, what they did for you. And then of course, your pastors, them having a vision and seeing a vision that's big enough for other people like yourself to kind of be launched, if you will, into your own destiny. And you've played in the church as well as in secular arenas all across the country and probably the globe. That training ground really, really launched you. So taking it a step further, obviously you got on the drums. You knew that it could be possible, but when did you know, okay, I'm about to do this for a living? So let's take it to high school. You talked about marching band. What was life like in high school and pre-college for you?
Well, before then, I went to Hawley Middle School.
Okay.
So at Hawley, and I don't know if this was statewide or whatever, or countywide or whatever, but you couldn't play in the school band unless you were in 7th grade and up. And in middle school, it was 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. So in 6th grade, I wanted to play, drums in the marching band, but obviously I couldn't because I was in 6th grade. 7th grade comes around. I'm like, cool, this is my opportunity to try out. I want to, play in the marching band. I want to play snare. I actually wanted to play toms, but in order to play toms, you had to play snare first. And at the same time, I'm playing basketball, because it was like around the same kind of situation. You couldn't play school ball before 7th grade. Mm-hmm. So it was like a toss up, drums, basketball, drums, but I was able to do both. But I didn't get into the marching band until 8th grade because what I found out was you had to play a horn instrument first before you could play a percussion instrument. I ain't had that kind of time. I was like, I ain't come here for all that, man. I don't want to play no horn instrument. I don't want to do none of that. I want to play them. I want to play drums. I'm a drummer. You know what I mean?
Focus. You were focused early. You knew.
Hey, man, I ain't got time for these horns, man. I don't do that. I play drums. You know what I mean? And Mr. Morgan, I'll never forget him, man. Mr. Morgan, in 8th grade, like some of the students or whatever were like kind of letting them know, like, yo, you should let Herm try out. I mean, he's really good. He's really good. And I'll never forget this kid, Chad. I forgot his last name, but he just thought he was the dopest, And he was always challenging me, like at lunch, at the lunch table. Like he would have his little sticks and just be drumming, and I always was like killing him. I didn't know what I was playing necessarily, but I knew what it sounded like, because I learned by ear. So this one particular time, Mr. Morgan, he actually told me, he said, well, why don't you come by the band room during band class? If you have a free period, because like we had free periods back then. If you have a free period, why don't you come by the band, by the band office or whatever. I said, okay, cool, man. This might be my chance, my opportunity. So I'll never forget, man. I walked in there, and the way the band room was set up, when you walked in, the actual players, their backs were to you when you walked in. So when you walked in, you could only see the instructor. So the players, they never saw you. But when I walked in, it was like, you ever watch some of those country westerns where they're playing whoever's playing the piano, honky tonk piano, and this, that, and the other, and then somebody walks in and it's like, huh?
Yeah. Right.
It's like everything stopped. Like when I walked in, right?
Of course.
And I look at Mr. Morgan. I stopped at the door and I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, because I didn't even think anybody was going to be in there except for him. And he was like, oh no, it's okay. Come on in. Meet me in my office. And that's when I heard, the mumbles, just everybody's mumbling, like, that's her. I don't know. So I walk into the office and he pulls out this book, this hardcover book, and he just lays it down, just bow. And he gives me some sticks. He said, play me something. And I was like right now? He was like, yeah. Play me something. And I was like, okay. So I played whatever. I don't remember what it was that I played, but I played whatever. Now, it might have been their particular cadence that the school band was playing at the time. And I just learned it by ear. And right after that, I remember seeing like some of my friends or whatever in the doorway, because you could see in the glass in the doorway. They was just like looking in, like, it was done. So when I got done, he didn't say anything. And I was like, well, I guess I ain't gonna be in the band, and we walked out. And right when I came out of the door, he said, Herman, go ahead on over there, grab you some sticks, grab a snare, and go ahead on and join the drummers over there. I was like, what? So that was my first time saying to myself, okay, this can possibly work out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That was the first time I ever auditioned anything or whatever, because I didn't audition in the for the youth choir. It was just, you have a gift, come forth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was that kind of thing. So I never auditioned until then. And ironically, going to high school, I went to CFC from 9th grade to 12th grade. So the crazy thing about this is, while I was still in 8th grade at Hawley, I was practicing with South Granville's drumline. South Granville is the high school.
Okay.
In 8th grade, like, I started playing with the high school. Mr. Morgan had kind of just, I think his name was Mr. Bird at the time, kind of let him know, hey, I got this young drummer. Is it okay if he comes and practices with the high school drumline? And that happened. I was like, oh, this is so dope. This is cool. And my cousin, he was actually playing quints at the time. He was playing toms, which was the instrument that I wanted to play, and I don't know. I just thought that was so dope. And what he did was he allowed me to rewrite the middle school drum cadence, and he was like, yeah, I want you to do it. You redo the drum cadence.
Wow.
We have the Christmas parade coming up. We have whatever else parade coming up, and I want you to redo it. Make it, just make a new one. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. So that was my first time ever, like, being creative, I guess, if you will, and coming up, taking something and just doing something different with it.
Nice. That was like your first arrangement.
That was my first arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but yeah, I never thought about it. That's good, Z.
Right.
Yeah.
Another seed, right? So basically what we're saying is that things start early. If you look back, you can find in your journey to becoming musically hitched, at some point, there's a connection point to your destiny. That was one, so you talked about mentors, I should say, people exposing you to professional musicians, literally bringing the music industry to your small town USA background, right?
Right.
And now we're in middle school, high school. You make your first a formal audition, let's call it, and now you've also got a chance to arrange. So when you look at your life now and look back at that moment, to me, that's pretty clear that there were some opportunities that at least they were just confidence boosters. If nothing else, you had some confidence boosters along the way that said, I can do this.
Definitely confidence boosters, like all the way. You know, obviously I was still going to church, CFC and everything. And I cannot pinpoint when I met Ephraim Daniel. I can't pinpoint the exact moment, but I do remember there was a project that I had to do. And I want to say it was for, like English or something like that. And we had to do something. We had to be creative with something. Some people wrote a poem, some people, recited some things or whatever. I wanted to do something different. I wrote a rap. You know what I'm saying? I wrote a rap. I was like, yo, I want to do something way off the charts, something totally different. So I knew F did music at the church, and I'm like, cause I've seen him like do like production stuff. So I asked him, I was like, yo, hey man, I got this beat. Can you do it? It's for my school project that I got to do. And it was just, that's all it was. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, after bugging them for a while, like just bugging them and bugging them and bugging, he finally he did it. And he gave it to me on a tape, on a cassette tape. Remember like cassette tapes?
Oh yeah.
People today probably don't even remember like an actual cassette tape where sometimes you got to take the little pencil to rewind it, put it in there and like turn it to rewind it. Yeah.
Right, to get it back on track.
You know what I'm saying? So he gave it to me on a cassette tape and I listened to it and I was blown. I was like, yo, like, how did he do this? Because I played it and it was just so like, it just had a thing to it. And that's really all. It was no music, nothing at all. It was literally just kick, snare, and hi-hat. Just that's all it was. And I was blown away. In my mind, I said, yo, I want to know how he did that. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So 9th grade comes. I did not want to go to CFC. I didn't want to go to CFC at all. I didn't want to go back to private school. I wanted to go to South Granville with the rest of my friends. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to go to high school because I'm still playing at, I was still a marching Viking at the time, and this was going to be my first year to actually march on the field with South Granville, and actually compete in band competitions with South Granville. But I had to go to South Granville to be able to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was really one of the main things between that and wanting to play basketball, because I wanted to play ball. I wanted to play varsity in 9th grade, at South Granville. I wanted to go in because it was music and basketball for me. Mm-hmm. So knowing that I was going to CFC at that time, they didn't have a basketball team. When I was in 8th grade, CFC didn't have a basketball team, but in 9th grade, they were developing, a basketball team,
right.
And of course I didn't want to go, but my parents made me go. Of course I had no choice. So, and that was really geared towards basketball for me. I was really basketball heavy all day. Like I started dunking in 9th grade. Like I was going in. You know what I mean? And drums didn't necessarily take a backseat. Music didn't necessarily take a backseat, but it was in the passenger seat.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So it wasn't like the driving force for me. Like I really wanted to play basketball, but it was that itch, that musical itch that was always there. You know what I'm saying? And especially, here's the thing too. See, Bishop he made a studio at the church, and the church was a school. So he made a studio for us, and actually I can't even say it was for us. It was literally for the church. So I can't say it was for us because we didn't have no studio class or nothing like that. But the fact that it was there, it kind of drew me in closer to wanting to know what F was doing and how he was doing it.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I didn't realize that subconsciously what was going on was I was closer to my music. I was closer to, the gift that God gave me. So yeah, just being closer to him and what he was doing in the TV studio and, in the musical studio and all that stuff, it made me eager and wanting to know more about how he was doing what he was doing and to see if I could do it too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I kind of started when did I start playing piano? I want to say I started messing around. I can't say started playing. I think I started messing around with like the piano, maybe around like 5th grade or 6th grade or something like that. And all this is by ear. I don't know no A to B, and I don't know none of that, man. I'm playing all this stuff by ear. And I'll never forget my dad took me to see Space Jam, and I Believe I Could Fly came on. For some reason, that particular song
right.
that Kells wrote, it just rung in my ear, and I just wanted to learn how to play it. And I ended up learning how to play the song, not knowing what I was playing, but I knew how to play it. And being at the church, it was like, okay, I got church and school at the same time. This is crazy. I don't want to be at church that much, but but the school side of it, what I'm saying? The school side of it kind of made it make a little bit more sense, because it was like some of my friends that I actually grew up with, a lot of my friends that I grew up with was there. So it made it a little bit easier to, to do that or whatever. But he would show me little stuff, and at that time, it was a PC, it wasn't an Apple. It was a PC, and it was Cakewalk. It was the Cakewalk that had the like kind of the turquoise background, and it was just the black dots that represented the MIDI information.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And there was no internal sounds. Everything was hardware. We had a Chord Trinity and a JV80, I think. I think it was a Roland JV80 or something like that. And I forgot how he had it wired up or whatever, but he showed me certain things, and then he would leave the studio. He would go back into the TV studio. I would ask him like, man, so how did you da 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 da? And he'd show me, and he would say, well, this is what you need to do. You need to do this, and then you quantize it. And I'm like, well, what is that? Like, I was just asking. I was a sponge.
Yeah. What does that mean? Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, right. What is that? And he showed me the difference of what that is and everything. And he would just leave, and at that time I would be like, man, like, why are you leaving? I need you to be right here, right now. Cause I promise you, I got another question, But what he was doing was, it was so crazy. What he was doing was he was creating an environment. I don't even know if he realizes this or not, but he was creating an environment to make me have to figure things out on my own. He was creating an environment to say, okay, cool, I'm gonna give you just enough to get you to the next step. Now you got to figure out how to get to the next step. Basically saying, you got to solve this problem. Now, if you can't solve it, I'm next door. But he would literally show me just enough stuff and then leave.
So Ephraim, another great mentor to both of us, actually, because I have my own Ephraim stories. Fantastic guy. He was basically creating room for you to make mistakes.
Yeah,
in the studio.
It was, man. It was one of those moments, of course, growing up, of like, man, like, are you gonna leave every time you show me something? Because I need a follow-up from what you just showed me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna like show me this one little part and then leave, But like I said, he was creating that thing of like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to ask him for every little thing. maybe I could try this and try that and just see if this works. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this. And for me, when I say the lab now, I think back to that because, I mean, you got a scientist who goes in the lab. They don't know what they're doing. They don't. They're experimenting. They have no idea what they're doing. They don't know what's right. They don't know what's wrong. They're experimenting. So whenever I'm in the lab now, you know, I always say that. Even when I have people that come and record, I try to remind people like, hey, you're going to make mistakes. I need you to.
Right.
I need you to feel that comfortable. Like, it's okay if you crack, that's fine. Mm-hmm. It's just us. It's not an audience. You know, you can do it 100 times and get it right once. That's the goal. Just get it right one time. This is the experimentation room. And that's what I kind of gathered just from the Ephraim Effect, if you will.
Right. which is why a lot of studio rats call it the lab, right?
There you go. You know what I'm saying?
You just basically gave us a dissertation on why we use the term lab. A lot of people, I'm in the lab. You just broke it down. Perfect.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and that's real, man. And I learned so much, man, just from that particular environment, man. And it wasn't just me, man. It was like a couple of other people that was in there every now and again too, man. But the fact that I had that access to it, to me, was just a blessing. I remember one particular time I was in there and the door opened and it was Bishop. It was Bishop. He came in there. And, you know, Bishop had like the voice of God. When he talked, it was like, it was strange. It was like, whoa. He came in there. He had this aura that was like, wow. You know, like he just had this thing.
Huge presence.
Huge. Didn't have to say a word. Just, once again, like I said before about leadership, ain't got to say nothing. Just he just had that thing.
Right.
And he came in there one particular time and he opened the door, man. And I wasn't supposed to be down there. I don't know where I was supposed to be. I was definitely supposed to be in somebody's class, but I wasn't in there. And he came in there, he opened the door, and it was like a movie, like slow motion. It just, the door opened up and he was like, are you supposed to be in here? And I was like, you know what? I was, nah, I'm not. I'm not supposed to be, because you can't lie to like Bishop, you know what I'm saying? And you in church too, like you can't just be like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I was like, nah, I'm not supposed. Well, where are you supposed to be? In the class upstairs. I suggest you get there. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay. You know what I'm saying? But from then on, I noticed something. From then on, I noticed that I never got any resistance for me, like just using the studio. Like even after school or anything like that, I never got any resistance. Like there was no other student that could be in that studio. Nobody else could be in there. So I don't know if he said something, you know, or whatever, but it was no more like pushback for me being able to be in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And just from that alone, it I don't know, it just allowed my creativity to just be whatever it would be. I don't know. I go back and listen to some of those high school tracks and I laugh. I'm so embarrassed. It's horrible. He was the catalyst, man, for production. Like anything that I was doing production wise, it started with him.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody else teach me production. It started with him. It started with him.
He had the patience. He had the heart for it. He didn't stand in your way. He opened and made way for you. And I'm sure that even when Bishop Timberlake came in the studio that day, he knew that you weren't supposed to be in there. He told you to get out. But he also it sounds like he gave you access, unprecedented access the same day. Because anybody that's going to be in the studio, skipping class and in the studio, it's probably going to do something in the studio.
I eventually had a key.
Wow.
Yeah. I eventually had a key.
Yeah.
that was made for me.
Malcolm Gladwell, I'm not sure if you've read his book Outliers, but if you haven't, you are one of the greatest examples, I think, of probably a musical outlier, where in the book he talks about why so many professional NHL hockey players come from Canada, to how Bill Gates became so gifted at programming at a young age, why the Beatles were able to play, basically 1,000 songs, by ear as a band, playing, strip clubs, adult entertainment, environments when they were in high school. All the stories that led to people getting their claim to fame or their moment. That now the world, we all know all of those names that I just dropped, right? But at the same time, we don't know the stories. So I feel like that was probably your outlier moment as well. So there was the audition, and then the first arrangement, right? And then there was, there's also Kevin and Glenn along the way, but then you meet Ephraim at a critical time right before Berkeley. We're gonna get into the Berkeley story here now, but you meet Ephraim at a critical time, and he pours into you, leaves room. You've got a studio that you've got a key to. You don't have to pay for studio time. You've got unlimited time to kind of hone the skills and crafts that we hear in your music today. And most people don't know where it started, but that's really where it started. So to me, that sounds like your outlier moment, where you got this unprecedented opportunity to just glean and grow and learn. And then you have a mentor who, like you said, if you need me, I'm next door. But otherwise, you got it.
And it was crazy because it wasn't just F. It was like it was Detroit Yancey, keyboard player. Just crazy. I learned so much just, once again. Detroit was my Glenn of piano. Detroit was my Glenn of piano. Pastor Mark Joyner was my Kevin of piano.
Mm-hmm.
Because Pastor Joyner, God rest his soul, Pastor Joyner, he was classically trained. He was the musical director for the church. And he was a musical encyclopedia, man. There was not one song that he did not know.
I've heard the stories.
It would just, he was a freak of nature, man. He would blow your mind. And I understood why Bishop had him as his musical director. Not only just, I can't even describe him, man. I see his face in my mind, and the way he directed the band, the way he directed the choir, the way he sat at the organ, the way he sat at the piano. His piano skills was just, he was the Black Bach. You know what I'm saying? He was the Black Beethoven. He was just Beethoven. You know what I'm saying?
Beethoven.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I mean? He would call himself, he's the black man, because he was really, really black. You know what I'm saying? He was really dark.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a gap, and he was just so amazing, man. You know what I'm saying? He could sit down and he had like a little Jerry Curl box type thing. He was smooth with it, man. You know what I'm saying? And his piano skills was just, it was out of control. I took a few lessons with him because he told me, I forgot how he worded it, but basically he asked me when I was playing one time, "Do you know what you're playing?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I told him the name of the song. He was like, "I'm not talking about the title. Do you know what you're playing? What chord is that you're playing?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Chord? What do you mean? What do you mean?" And he was like, "Play it again." And I'm gonna tie this back in when we get to college too. This is funny. I played it again. He was like, "No, what chord is that?" I was like, "Man, I don't know, man. I'm playing this by ear. I don't know, dude. You asking me questions that, why do I even need to know? I know how to play it, so why do I need to know what I'm playing? I know how to play it, so why does it matter?" I didn't know how important it was until later on. But I took a few lessons with him, and he showed me, basically my scales, my major scales and my minor scales. He gave me the raw basics of that. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, "Okay, Mr. Joyner, I think I want to know what it is I'm playing now. I want to dig in a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another Mr. Joyner, Pete Joyner, jazz drummer. He's the one that actually introduced me to Berkeley. I had no idea what Berkeley was until like 11th grade. You know, because my mind was, I was not even thinking about a music school at all.
Really?
I was thinking at all, not even close. Music school was not on my mind at all. I was thinking basketball.
Okay.
All I wanted to do.
At that time, did you know the grandeur of a Berkeley at that time?
I had no idea because I was so, I just wanted to play ball.
Right.
You know, my thought process was ball and music was going to be a hobby. Mm-hmm. That's what it was going to be. I wasn't really interested until I started kind of seeing other things, other people, that went to Berkeley. And I think that was like kind of the driving force, because I was already a big Quincy Jones fan, but I don't think initially I knew that he was there. He went there,
right?
And all that stuff. So
when did you find out that was where Quincy Jones attended?
It was sometime in my 11th grade year, because I started leaning then like, oh, wait a minute now, hold on, and this is why I wasn't interested. It just hit me. The reason I was not interested in Berklee College of Music at the time was because I thought it was a jazz school. That's all I thought it was, because who presented it to me was Pete Joyner. He's an incredible jazz drummer.
Okay.
Incredible jazz drummer. I'm not personally a fan of jazz like that. I like to listen to it every now and again, but I'm not a diehard like jazz fan. Like I can just rattle off like, Ella Fitzgerald and Charlie Parker. I can't. That's not my lane.
You thought he's trying to make me a jazz musician. This is your thought process at this time.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, that's not me. Like, I like funk. I like R&B, and speaking of which, like, I still wasn't able to like listen to secular music at the time. Like I had to literally sneak and listen to secular music. I had to sneak and listen to Monica.
Oh, wow.
Sneak and listen to. That's how I'm serious. I found out about Monica and Brandy around that point in time. I think I was in like I was still in middle school, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I was in middle school, and I would sneak and listen to them because I knew I couldn't listen to it in the house. So some of my friends at school, they would like make me tapes from the radio. You remember back in the day, like you just hit record and try to record K97.5 or 102 jams.
Right.
Get your favorite songs.
Pre-Napster, right? Pre-Napster.
There you go. Right. Pre-Napster. Right.
Oh, wow.
So I would sneak and listen to them. That's how I learned about them. Because I heard I Want to Be Down and Baby, Baby, Baby from Brandy before I heard Don't Take It Personal from Mo. Don't Take It Personal and Why I Love You So Much from Mo. Mm-hmm. So I was drawn to that. I'm like, oh, that's R&B. I like that. Mm-hmm. That's I like that. You know what I'm saying? I like that kind of stuff. I would be mowing grass, cutting grass, knowing that I can't listen to it in the house. I'd be like sneaking my little tape into my little Walkman. Remember the Sony Walkman joints?
Yeah. Exactly.
They had the headphones with the little metal part and just had the little two headphones on the side. Yeah, I used to do that.
Killing your eardrums, right?
Kill them because you had to turn it all the way up. They ain't had no fidelity to them, So, but I used to have to sneak and listen to them, man. So from that, I was under the impression that Berkeley was a jazz music school. Because obviously who brought it to me was a jazz drummer. And Pete Joyner, he played drums at the church. He was the main drummer. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't until I started seeing that, oh, wait a minute, they don't it's not just geared towards jazz. This is actually geared towards all genres and contemporary music. Like when I saw they had a funk class and an R&B class and they had a Latin class, and of course they had jazz class, and they had a hip hop class. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It was taking me out. I was like, oh wait, okay, this actually might be kind of cool. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until me and my dad, like we went up to Boston to visit the school. You know what I'm saying? And
what was that like the first time you saw the campus?
I can't even call it the campus. The buildings, yeah.
Okay.
But because here's the thing, being country, when I think of a campus, I think of grass. They don't have no grass.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But the buildings, like after being there and walking through the halls and hearing all different kinds of music, and seeing all walks of life, you know what I'm saying? Just, Latino and Asian and obviously white and black, and it was like literally a melting pot. Somebody from Greece and somebody from the Middle East, it's like every culture was like a melting pot. It was crazy. You know what I'm saying? And I remember leaving there and saying, I want to go to Berkeley.
17, 18 years old at the time?
I was 17.
Okay.
When I graduated, I was 18 years old. So when I left there, I was like, I want to go. Now, here's the thing about that. Of course, us country people, like quite a few people tell me, now, it's cold up there now. And you good country boy. You country boy. You red clay boy. You sure you can handle that up there, boy? It's cold up there. We don't do cold.
It's a different type of cold.
You country boy. You don't do that cold there, boy. So that's what I kind of got. You know what I mean? But for me, I was like, I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way. I see it as a real opportunity to explore something that I never saw.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I did see was me staying home, me staying in North Carolina, and just,
the alternative.
Yeah.
So there's an opportunity cost when you're on this journey to being musically hitched. We've talked about that before with other guests. There's a moment where you get to choose whether you're going to be hitched, and this is again, if your story is another outlier story, right? Then Berkeley doesn't happen to every musician, right?
Right.
Those that get to go there, they're going to get some exposure to music on both a theory as well as a commercial level. Like you said, there's classes, right? It's not just jazz studies and vocal performance. We got what was your major of choice at Berkeley?
My major was songwriting.
Songwriting. So think about that. How many people can say they majored in songwriting?
Yeah, songwriting and arranging, man. That was my major.
But Berkeley offers that, and as you said, classes for different genres, not just here's songwriting for R&B, here's songwriting for country, here's songwriting for pop, and then I'm imagining not only the returning alumni, but the guests, the music industry elite come through there. I'm assuming, right, to teach classes or to do guest lectures and stuff like that.
Dude, let me tell you something. When we were, this is so crazy. I don't know if you know this guy, Ron Feimster. He's from North Carolina as well. But he left Berkeley early. And that's actually, and this is weird to even say, but it's just a thing amongst us alum. Because we would count them in semesters. If you would go to Berkeley for approximately 4 semesters, which would be 2 years, 4 semesters, 6 semesters. If you happen to leave Berkeley early because of the fact that an opportunity has arisen because of you being in school, it's like a badge of honor.
I believe you.
It's so weird that when people say I graduated from Berkeley, it's like, well, what are you doing with it now? Well, I work over there at FedEx.
Mm-hmm.
But the people that don't have a diploma are like running the industry.
Mm.
Weird. It's so backwards to me. I didn't understand it at first. But when I moved and I left early, I was like, oh, okay. And now I get it.
It's not a blanket statement, not everyone, but what you're saying is there are reasons Berkeley provides opportunities along the way that for the right student, for the right pupil, it literally could change their life. It's almost like a kid who has the opportunity to go pro. Like previously, when we were coming up, you could go to the NBA. Like Kobe Bryant.
That's exactly what it
went
is.
straight to the NBA. LeBron James went straight to the NBA. Lots of
Great
players
analogy.
from that day. So you could, if you've got that opportunity at that age,
great analogy.
You probably need to take it because it's going to be rare that you're not going to get that opportunity to be a high school grad anymore.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to tell you, when Ron Feimster, when he left early and signed with Aftermath with Dre.
Okay.
I remember him telling me about it. And I was like, yo, you about to go work with like Dr. Dre? Like Dre? Like Dr. Dre? Like
Chronic
real
Dre,
one?
right?
Right. The Chronic Dre, the real one? You know what I'm saying? And he was like, yeah. The crazy thing is, now I never met him, never met Dre, but I saw him in the distance at my school. He was leaving the 150 building from like touring the campus or whatever with Ron.
Wow.
And I remember hitting Ron like later that day. I was like, was you with Dre? He was like, yeah, he wanted to just come and see the campus. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Dr. Dre was at my school. And I remember walking and seeing them come out of the 150 building. It took me, I was like, oh, this, okay. So they really do come here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like, I mean, like you said, that was a really great analogy. It's like a college player having the opportunity, like Jordan. Jordan left UNC early.
Exactly.
And he got the opportunity. The opportunity is there for a reason.
Yeah, because you can come back and get the degree. That's what he did. He came back, but he's still the greatest of all time.
Yep.
So there was a window of time where he didn't need any more.
Vince Carter too. Vince did the same thing.
Yeah,
Vince left early and then he came back.
Mm-hmm.
And got his degree. But piggybacking, like I said, it was just that when me and my dad left, that's when I made that definitive decision and said, I want to go to Berkeley. Mm-hmm. That's actually what I want to do now. It was like Berkeley was like, it was no longer in the passenger seat anymore. It was like music started becoming like the thing. I started missing basketball practice. Like some of my teammates would have to come to the studio. Hey, Herm, come on, man. We got practice. We got layup lines, man. Come on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Would literally have to take me out of the studio to have me come to basketball practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? When that started happening, I said, yeah, basketball is supposed to be the hobby, not music.
The A gift versus the B gift, as Steve Harvey has talked about it in the past. So music, you're musically hits now. We can see it visually even now.
Yeah.
Just listen to the interview. So basically, music was riding in the passenger seat all along. You never were without it, but now music had switched over and is now the driver. And basketball is now in the passenger seat. So now we are Berkeley, and now we're about to transition into the Atlanta story. And I know we still got a lot more to cover, but I want to dig in. At some point, there's another critical relationship that was a part of that North Carolina connection. Obviously, we're going to talk about Ronnie Garrett, his influence in your life, and the impact that he's had on you. But how did you meet Ronnie? Because this is post Berkeley. You didn't meet Ronnie, I'm assuming, before, or was it after Berkeley?
I actually met Ron when I was 16 years old, man. I met Ron through this guy named Preston Middleton. And Preston Middleton, he was actually one of this full circle thing is crazy. We're gonna tie it all in. But Preston Middleton was one of the I wouldn't say founders, but I would say heavy influencers of Destiny's Child. It was him, it was Kim Burse, and it was Matthew Knowles. that I know of. It was those three that were responsible for Toya, Tavia, B, and Kels. You know what I mean? So I met Ron through Preston. I met Preston when I was I want to say 10th grade. So I was approximately maybe 15 years old ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Destiny's Child is really just about to take off at this point.
Yeah. I want to say 97.
Mm-hmm.
But I met Ron. We came down. We was actually we was working on this group. Can't remember the name of it, but it was Ephraim. It was Detroit. Tim Owen, amazing singer. He was at that time, I think he was still with Casey and JoJo, but he was writing for them as well. And that would come full circle too. And there was one other guy that was a part of this gospel group that we were trying to put together. And Preston was a part of that. He was heading it up actually. And one particular time we came to Atlanta, I met Ron then. And I remember sitting in the car because Preston had already told me all about him and all this other stuff. And how he's from Durham and, from same area and this, that, and the other. This is what I got in common. He plays bass, you know what I'm saying? And used to play drums and all this other stuff. So he told me a lot about him. So I was just nervous.
Yeah.
Like I was nervous. Like I didn't want to like get out the van I forgot what we was in, van, car, whatever, but I didn't really want to get out. And, they motioned me to come in and, I came in and, I met him, hey, Mr. Garrett, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? Just nervous, like, wow, like this is a superstar. You know what I mean? Like, this is crazy. He's famous. I met a famous person. You know what I'm saying? So just taking me out. So that's how I met Ron. I met Ron through Preston Middleton. And what he did was, Preston was an influencer too, man, on the production side too, man. Like he definitely helped me see things beyond what I was hearing all the time. He definitely kind of opened up my inner ears a little bit, if that makes mental ears or musical ears, if that makes any sense, to hear beyond the norm. Yeah, that's how I met Ron, man. And me and Prez, I mean, at that time I was calling him Uncle Prez because we spent a lot of time together, man. It was like I was the only one that was kind of like the little gnat that you just could not get rid of. You know what I'm saying? I was just bugging everybody about like, well, how'd you do this and how'd you, because what he used to do is
peanut, right? Not peanut, but peanut.
Peanut, right. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? That's who I was, because he would use an MPC to do his tracks. I want to say it was maybe an MPC 1000 or something like that, but I just remember it was an MPC. It was a drum machine that he used, and he was trying to teach me how to use it, but it's almost like MPC. And for me, this is a personal thing. For me, the MPC for me is like an Android, and keys and soft synths like Logic and Pro Tools is an iPhone to me.
Uh-oh.
You know what I mean? Like it's just for me to be able to use keys and Logic, it's just easier for me to use as opposed to an MPC.
A preference.
Yeah, I can maneuver better. They both do the same thing, but or whatever. Essentially, basically do the same thing fundamentally. But, it's almost like I spent more time trying to figure things out as opposed to spending more time just being creative. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Preston was a catalyst to me meeting Ron. And like I said, that all started with F. I did this tree one time and it took me out. Like I say it all the time, if it wasn't for F, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing production wise. Because I wouldn't have, gravitated towards Preston the way that I did. I wouldn't have met Ron.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have met Kim.
I mean, it's unmistakable how connected your destiny was literally to that town and to that institution.
Yeah.
At that time.
Right.
Amazing.
Facts, man.
Talk to me a little bit about your relationship with Ronnie and how that has impacted your trajectory. So you made the connection. When did you realize that Ronnie himself saw something special in Peanut?
Well, it wasn't until it's funny. I'm glad you said that. The name Peanut. Guess who gave me that name? Ephraim is the one that actually gave me that name.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Ephraim is actually the one who gave me that name. We were rehearsing for something. I want to say the Citadel in South Carolina or something like that. It was some show that we was rehearsing for or whatever. So we was rehearsing, over and over and over and over and over. And it was this one particular time I was in the middle of, a great field. I felt great about it because I knew by the time I got to the end of this field, I was going to crash hard. You know what I mean? Just, I was going in. And F stop. Hold on. Wait. Stop. And I didn't feel like stopping today. That wasn't the moment for me to stop. I thought it was very disrespectful for him to ask me to stop while I was in the middle of a phenomenal field. I didn't like it.
If you say so yourself, Jay-Z.
Yeah. I didn't like it. So, so I kept going and I finally stopped. And F was like, hey, if you don't stop, peanut head rascal. And everybody fell out laughing. I was like, hey man, don't call me that, man. He was like, you know what? As a matter of fact, everybody, from now on, his name is no longer Herman. His name is no longer Herm. His name is Peanut from now on. Everybody in here, from now on, y'all call him Peanut from now on. Since he don't want to stop, his name is Peanut from now on. And I was like, hey man, y'all, hey, don't call me that, man. Don't call me Peanut, man. So it just happened to get around the school, and people at the school started calling me Peanut. Uh-huh. And then next thing you know, my basketball coach was calling me Peanut. And I was like, man,
I guess I'm gonna go with it, right?
Yeah, I'm serious. I was like, I couldn't even fight it no more, man. I was like, I don't even want to be called this. So I couldn't fight it no more. So I was like, well, I guess my name is Peanut. I guess I gotta live with this one. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks again.
Couldn't run from it. Back to Ron. When we actually reconnected when I was in Berkeley. There was this this is a stupid story. And they still have it. It's this place called the Learning Center. And I remember my guys, my boy John, he's from South Carolina, and my boy Ricky, he's actually from Augusta, Georgia. Ricky was the one that was telling us about the Learning Center, telling me about it. My girl Rashidra, she was from VA Beach. We had a little crew because we was like the Southern crew, everybody else, from New York, LA, Miami, Chicago, big cities, us, not so much. So we kind of clung together. And within our group, Ricky, just a musical genius. He played every instrument known to man. He would pick up a cello and then pick up some drumsticks, and then go run the sound because he was an incredible sound engineer too. But he was the one that came to us and was like, and he's dope on organ, by the way, crazy. But He was the one that came to us and was like, hey, have y'all heard about the Learning Center? And us at that time, I don't know about no Learning Center. That's sound too much like books to me. That's too many books, But it was like, nah, man, you should go, man. Like, and this one particular time, he came and told us about it. And I was like, all right, well, Ricky, I guess just show us where the Learning Center is, man. So we're walking into the main building, which is the 150 building. And we walk, as soon as you go in, you walk upstairs, and right there, just before you walk into the glass part of it, it's probably changed by now, but walk into the glass part of it, you see the media center, and it's nothing but just all types of like records and stuff, whatever you want to hear, whatever you want to listen to, it does not matter what it is, it's in the book. and they have it there. It's like a music library. It doesn't matter what genre.
Okay.
Nothing. It's in the book.
Wow.
You can go and listen to it right now. The B-sides of things, or the demo of whatever, you can go and listen to it.
Really?
Crazy. I didn't know that at that time. But then, we're following him upstairs. We go upstairs and we see the sign that says Learning Center. We get up there and all around is just a library. I said, see, Ricky. I said, I knew it. Books, Ricky. I'm not trying to see the books, man. I'm not trying to see the books. It's too many. I don't like it. This is too much. And he's like, no, man, come on, man. We got to keep walking. We got to walk through the library area to get to the Learning Center. And we get to the Learning Center. We walk down this little ramp, and you walk this one little corner, and it's like 60 or 70 personal stations with a computer and keyboard. And I was like, Ricky, now what is this now? He said, I told you would love it because you like doing production.
Right.
And he was like, I told you would love this. He was like, all you got to do is just give them your Berkeley ID, and they'll give you a station. And I was like, are you serious? He was like, yeah. And you can make tracks all day long.
Mm-hmm.
You can make as many tracks as you want. Mm-hmm. He was like, as a matter of fact, I don't know what classes you got, but some of your classes require you to go to the Learning Center and make whatever track that they're asking for to bring back. And I was like, Ricky, now you'd have messed up, because I'm never going to class.
So this is critical too. So this actually takes me back to the story I shared with you about DJ. So that means that music probably wasn't CSC produced music that I was hearing, because this is the point of the story where you get unlimited access to the studio again, and now you're in college, so you can't get in trouble for being at the Learning Center. You can get credit for being in the Learning Center.
Yeah.
So this is where you really hone the production skills, and you're a songwriting major, so you actually have to do it. So this explains to me where the demo of maybe the 500, I don't know, you have to tell me.
That makes sense.
That's because this is a time in life where not only did you know what you were doing, but you had time to create tracks like that, a body of work like that, even if it was just instrumentals over the course of 4 years you were at Berkeley?
Yep. 3 and some change.
I got it.
Yep. So there would be times, this is so crazy. Everybody who went to Berkeley with me, they knew where to find me. I was in the Learning Center.
Mm.
When I wasn't in class, I was in the Learning Center.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there were times where Rashidra, she would come and ask me like, hey, I didn't see you in class today. You good? It's like, yeah. Well, you can't miss with so many classes before they drop you. I was like, oh, that's right. Okay. I got to get enough credit to at least stay in the class, that kind of stuff.
Right.
There were times where me and John, we would be in there literally like a 9 to 5, man. We would be in there. They would open up at 9 o'clock and close at 11. We would be there literally at 9 o'clock when they would open up, to the point where they knew us. Now you couldn't leave your station longer than 10 minutes before they give your station up. And, because you can't just hog the station. Well, for us, it was a little bit different, because we was there so much that they knew the two of us. They knew that when we were coming there, we were posting up. We was about to be there all day, and there were so many days that we were there from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. We would take our little lunch break from like 12 to 1
mm-hmm.
and come back to our station, and then come back and take another break from 6 to 7 or 7 to 8 or something like that. And then come back and finish, so we were just in there, like, just making tracks, hey man, listen to this. Oh man, listen to this, and people would just know, like, okay, well, if we don't see Peanut down there in the regular common area, whatever, we know where he is. If anybody's looking for Peanut, Peanut is up in the Learning Center. I don't know what station he's at, but he's up there somewhere working on another track or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just the known thing as far as my college situation. So in doing so, I reconnected and I started sending Ron like CDs because it wasn't the MP3 at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're still on CDs right now.
Right.
Right.
Right. I was sending him CDs. So we jumped from tape to from Walkmans to Discmans at the time.
Yep.
So I was sending him CDs every time I made like a volume. That's what I was calling them. I got like 16 volumes and each one of them has like 20 tracks per volume or whatever, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I finished one, I would just mail it to F, and mail one to like Ron or something like that. And it wasn't until after a while, Ron was just like, man, like you coming along, and eventually he hit me this was around 03 because like I said, I moved in 04.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, hey man, have you thought about what you want to do after Berkeley, after college? And I told him, I said, yeah, man. I said, I want to move to Atlanta. I don't know what's there as far as music is concerned, because Atlanta wasn't popping like that. Atlanta wasn't, but it wasn't popping like that. But I always said that I wanted to live in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Not knowing why, but I knew that I wanted to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, still at school, still at Berkeley. This one particular class, I forgot the lady's name, but she was my Harmony 3 teacher, and she kind of took me back to something that Mr. Joyner said. So I would go in and play, and at this point in time, I knew my scales. I could play in every key or whatever without hitting the transpose button. So there's one particular time we was doing was it I want to say maybe the midterms or something like that. Yeah, it was midterms. And I was skating. Harmony 1, Harmony 2. I was skating all the way through. You know what I'm saying? Ear training was fun. That was easy. I enjoyed that. That was great. But Harmony was always the I guess the my kryptonite. Because as a drummer, especially in marching band and drumline, I was used to seeing, my snare line, or my tom line, which would be specific, notes in the scale. It wasn't necessarily actual notes. It was just representative notes of like, okay, this is tom 1, this is tom 2, this is tom 3, this is tom 4, this is your quint. So it was only 5, So when it came to harmony and understanding chords over slashes, I didn't know what that was, and understanding how to read chords over slashes. I skated Harmony 1, 2, and almost 3, but the buck stopped at 3 because she made me take that class again. She embarrassed me so bad in such a great way, in such a graceful way too. I was playing in before class started or whatever, and she would come in and cool, go to my seat, everything like that. And this one particular time, she called me up. She called me up and she said, Herman, why don't you come on up? They didn't know me as Peanut. Not my teachers. My teachers knew me as Herman. Some of them. My drum teachers knew me as Peanut. But she called me up and said, why don't you come and play something? Just play an 8-bar phrase. And I was like, oh, okay. Cool. This is my opportunity to play something for the class. Oh, thank you. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate it. So I get up there, man. I play my little 8-bar phrase. Now, mind you, behind my back, I didn't know that she was looking over my shoulder. She had a little pad. I didn't realize that she was transcribing as I was playing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was, doing chords over slashes, man, and she was just transcribing as I was playing. And when I got done, the class clapped. Man, that was great. It sounded good. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, it's just, a little something I'm working on, it's cool. I'm gonna go to the Learning Center a little later on and lay that joint down. It's gonna be hot when I get done with it though. It's gonna be crazy. And she put this piece of paper in front of me and she said, that was nice. That was nice. Now play this. And she put that in front of me. You remember in Drumline when dude was like, "No, you got it. I mean, you knocked that cadence out that I did in no time. Come on, you can do it." And Devin looked at it and was like, "Man, I don't want to do this. I can't," because he couldn't read music.
Right.
So I couldn't read the chords over slashes. Now, mind you, like I said, I did not realize that she was transcribing what I was playing, not necessarily the details of what I was playing, but just the chord progression and the chord structures of what I was playing.
So could you read music here? Were you sight reading at all, or you learned that at Berkeley?
I learned that at Berkeley.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that was the beginning. This moment right here was the beginning of me learning that.
So you didn't have to sight read. So some people may not know that. You did not have to sight read or do not have to sight read to get admission to Berkeley. Is that correct?
I didn't. I had to do an audition video to get into Berkeley.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to do an audition video. I didn't have to sight read. In the video, it showed me playing piano. Also in the video I made an arrangement and I played live drums to it. And he used the Jimmy Jib, camera to kind of get some angles and presentation type stuff or whatever. And it was one other thing I did in the video, and that was it. I didn't have to do any sight reading at all. Yeah. So she sat that in front of me and asked me to play it. She was like, "Can you play this?" And I looked at it and I looked at her and I was like, "Nah, I'm good."
Never seen that before.
Right. I was like,
what
"Nah,
is that?"
I'm good."
Right.
And she said, "Okay." She said, "Well, I'll play it for you." And I got up and she's, showed me. She said, I'll show you how to play it. Now, mind you, she's making an example out of me.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
And how important it is to know what you're playing. And she sat down and started playing exactly what I was playing. Zach, do you understand? I felt this small. Because you got to understand, the class, I think it was probably maybe like 12 people or something like that. The class was, man, hey, man, that was dope. Oh,
that was phenomenal.
You was
probably never
killing.
hear that again. Right.
I'm telling you. You talking about a humbling experience, dude. Wow. Man. And I felt, like I said, I was like, man, thank y'all. I appreciate it, man. I'm like,
you can give an autograph later.
I'm gonna be right. I'm gonna be in the Learning Center later if y'all want me to sign anything, Yeah. So she sat down. She sat down and played exactly what I played. And I looked at her, I was like, oh my God. And she told me in front of the class, like it was silent because everybody knew what just happened. Everybody knew. It was like, ooh. And she told me after, she said, don't leave after class. I need to speak with you. And I was like, uh-oh. So after the class was over and everybody left, I went over to her and I was like, "Yes, ma'am." And she was like, she said, "Herman," she said, "you're very talented. Nobody can take that from you. You're very talented." She said, "But I'm not going to let you pass this class until you know what you're playing." She said, "You can play anything and everything that you want to play. But if you don't know what you're playing, you're not speaking the language and you will not know how to communicate it to anybody else."
Wow. Not speaking the language.
I said, wow. I said, okay. And I told her, I said, it's just difficult. I told her, I said, we used that excuse at that time. I was like, well, I'm a drummer. Like, I don't do that or whatever. And she said, "You're more than a drummer. You're more than a drummer." She said, I'm not going to let you pass this class based off of you saying that you're just a drummer. She was like, you're not going to pass Harmony 3 until you know what you're playing. And that was my challenge of like, it took me back to Mr. Joyner, of him almost saying the same thing to me. I think he did say the same thing to me of like, you need to know what you're playing. You know, because when he asked me that, you know, what are you playing? I told him the title of the song as opposed to what I'm actually playing. You know what I mean?
So you're having this moment again, right?
I'm having it again.
Right.
Deja vu style.
It's connected, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Deja vu style, but this time I'm in New England. You know what I mean?
So there's an important lesson right there, right? I think this is something that you and I have talked about before. If you don't learn the lesson the first time, life is a master class, right?
Oh yeah.
So
it's gonna cycle back around.
If you try to skip the lesson, you can leave the state. You can leave the city. You can go to a totally different place.
Yep.
And the lesson will follow you there, only to repeat itself. You must learn the lesson. So musicians, we want you to know that. Everybody listening that wants to make it in this business, when the lesson shows up, you must pass it the first time or else you will not be able to progress. This lady was not going to let you pass this course on Berkeley's campus. Literally wrote out, basically scored out what you played off the top of your head. She did it in minutes, maybe. Sat down and played it.
I was doing it. I was just playing it. She just said, just play an 8-bar loop. Wow. And I was just playing an 8-bar loop. And while I was playing the loop, she was transcribing what I was playing. I didn't play it long. I probably played the loop maybe 3 times.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe 3 times. So what are we talking? What, 24 bars?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Supporting this podcast is easy. Just hit the subscribe button. See you on the next episode.